Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest GAIA webinar, the ROI Engine, as accredited by the Customer Institute. Hi, Eric. Hi, Paul. There's Muss. Hi there, sir. Just need to get you into that host position there. Muss will be sharing his slides with us and starting his presentation shortly. Just want to wait for a few more people to join because I know there's a few more people that had signed up. How are you, Muss?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm loving the beard.
I was inspired by you, sir.
That grew pretty fast.
It still surprises some people. It's a bit bishy at the moment. It needs to get trimmed down tomorrow, but there we go. Yeah, do you want to go ahead and start sharing your slides then, Muss? And then we'll just hopefully by the time you've got those up on screen, we will be ready to go. Other comments from my side. So there is a chat function at the bottom that's like the little speech bubble. I've already put a message in there. If you've got questions as Muss is going through his presentation, feel free to type them in there. And then as kind of support to Muss on this webinar, I'll ask them at sort of natural breaks. Otherwise, at the end of the session, we'll open the floor up. And then, we'll have a proper like Q&A there. So if you can hold off and you want to do it in person, if it's a more detailed question, please feel free to do it that way. But if it's something that you think is really just pertinent to what's being said at the time, I'll normally be able to find a window within a minute or so to ask that on your behalf. And it stops Muss having to keep an eye on the chat as well as he's doing his thing. How are you getting on there, Muss? You ready to go?
Can you see my slides?
We could then, and they've gone down again. Whatever you'd, yeah, we can see them now.
Okay.
Okay, Muss, I'll hand over to you, and away you go.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for everybody joining this event today. I appreciate you taking your time out to hear about how you guys can help engage with your clients and create this opportunity to create more business with them. My name is Muss, and I've been in the customer experience and data analytics industry for over about 30 years now. And I set up RU-CX about 2 years ago. And during that period, I've authored a book around AI and customer centricity, and customer experience and customer centricity is my focus. And on that inspiration of what's happened in the last few years, I developed this tool to help CX leaders and organizations to identify where they can see the impact of their business opportunity growth that they're losing out on. There is a big is a critical kind of topic at the moment around LinkedIn and everywhere else, where they talk about proving the benefit of improving, bringing in CX and improving the ROI behind that. And CX is another way of for any of us as consultants to say, how can we help organizations be operationally efficient, to be more engaging, so that they can create growth through building a loyal customer base. And what does that mean? So based on that research in the last couple of months of building this trajectory of showing an alternative way of proving ROI in an organization and identifying opportunities they can work with. So I'll go into presentation mode. That helps. Right. So yeah, so hopefully what you will take from this is how can you actually go in and speak to your clients, and using this either as a tool to help your client to understand where the gaps are, where the opportunities are, or you could use that if you're working on a project, how you can utilize this tool to help you very quickly identify gaps and propose opportunities for yourself as a continuous communication and growth and work with your client. And why this really matters now for us as consultants, working in this field of helping organizations to grow and to become profitable in this day and age, because budgets are getting tighter, as we know. I come from the banking, financial services background, and the amount of changes we've had in the last 10 years, and it's everything about cost cutting and how it's led in that way. And removing, people, making it tighter. So it's very hard to find budgets to go in there to show the opportunity of growth. And the old way of how things used to work, showing, organizations are always wanting to compete on the NPS score, or we would go in with the sentiment analysis or what the customers are saying and where we need to improve those frictions or blocks, again, is not enough anymore. When you're speaking to board level C-suite, and what they want is they want to see what the opportunity cost of that and the benefit of doing what they're doing. And coming from the industry of client side work in the last 20 years, what I always saw was the sales and marketing teams would go in and they would have clear targets. They would have, saying we'll aim to get X amount of people through the door, and we're going to convert those by this X amount, and we're going to bring in this amount of revenue. But to do that, we need X amount of budget. And whereas the customer experience teams or anyone around that kind of realm would go in and say, well, we're seeing these metrics, your NPS, your CSAT, your effort score, and we need to make these improvements, and we can improve these scores by 1 or 2% or points. But that never really directly linked back to a revenue. And so therefore, it was always seen for businesses saying, okay, what good is that to me? Even if I can increase it by 1 or 2 points, there's no direct link to revenue. So therefore, the sales and marketing team would always get the budget. And for improvements and operational improvements, it was a secondary thought, and there was no improvements behind that. And the reason behind that is that we weren't able to, as delivery teams or consultants in that area, we would talk about the points because we always thought C-suite's always concerned about the NPS score and nothing else. But the revenue gap, because we're talking to CFOs and CEOs, they want to see how much we can affect the P&L. And the P&L comes from showing the revenue, what is the risk of not doing it financially, what is costing us by still remaining as we are, and where we're affecting our organization and business and the opportunity of growth. So we would go in with the wrong kind of metrics. But what the leaders really want to see us when we're walking in as consultants is saying, actually, we can tell you how many customers are affected in this area. You're losing this potential revenue because you're not doing this. And if we end up improving an X amount, let's just say for argument's sake, on a onboarding stage, because that's where we see the biggest gap, and we can bring in X amount of customers, retain them or bring them back in conversion, this relates to X amount of money into your organization, which then relates to lifetime value of your customers and so forth. So now we're talking about not just asking for budget to do a transformation, we're actually helping them strategically and shape their strategy as an organization. So we're speaking a different kind of language as we're going in, and not just talking about metrics. Because if we can't quantify what we're doing, we can't get the funding to be able to make those improvements, because there's no direct link to that. And as far as the C-suite, CFOs and CEOs and other people who have the pen on the budget line, who are willing to give it to us, they will say, well, what impact are you going to bring to the organization if we did X, Y, Z? And if there's no clear direction, there's no clear, like I said, there's no clear narrative of making them understand what this means, it's unlikely that they're going to sign it off. Now, most of the CFOs and CEOs are very sales driven. So we're talking about the sales funnel. And what I've done, and I've said, well, there's not much difference between a sales funnel and a customer journey, because if you look at the key stages, we're talking about inquiry, purchase, onboarding, and then retention, which is a similar points or stage journeys of awareness to retention in a customer journey. So they're the same. So what we're doing here is, instead of just talking about metrics against customer journey, we're talking about the financial relevancy to those each stages. And what I do is help then with this tool to answer 3 key questions that the C-suite want to know. Where is the growth being lost, potential growth being lost in those key funnel points, or what you can call the journey stages? What can realistically be recovered, because we cannot all be 100% or perfect at each point. There's always going to be a gradual increase, improvement. So where can we realistically make a change that is positive in those key stages? And what should we fix first? And the tool itself helps to identify the biggest gap there, showing where organization needs to make those changes first and focus on. And you can repeat that and prove that. So your mapping stages, you're quantifying that leakage in your organization or your client's organization, and you're showing opportunities where you can either further go in and deep dive and understand where those gaps are, where the blockages or the transformation improvements that they need to make, and prioritize the funding or the budget to fix those areas, because they'll have the biggest impact for the buck. And the great thing about this as well is it doesn't just refer to your C-suite level, because you can use it as a strategic tool, and whatever results you get, you can actually have the same conversation and show it to the CX leaders, who can back that up with your marketing, because everything that happens end to end in that journey, all these different areas of organization is part of it, and they need to work collaboratively. So you can have these conversations with all these 4 key heads in one room and have this discussion to saying, this is what we found, this is how you can fix it, but we need all you guys here together to work on this initiative and to be the sponsors of, and it's not just led by a CX person or marketing person. Everybody gets involved from the front end to the back end. And this tool, again, it not only just shows you where the revenue is leaking at an organizational level, but at the end-to-end sales funnel, but you can also take an organization's either low value or high value persona segment or customer segments and look at their journey stages and what's happening to them. Or if you're like you're a bank or a product-led company where you've got multiple products, you can say, so for argument's sake, if you're a bank and you've got a credit card, then you can say, right, let's take the credit card and look at the key journey stages of that credit card, and where are the key areas where most of the time the customers are falling out of that funnel. So, you got your leaky bucket. Where can we plug in those? What can we improve? And at the end of when you put in your stats and your figures, it's very easy, very quick. It will give you a full-on report that you can take and use all the information from there. It looks at as a consultant as well, you can take this data and plug it into your own deck, your own slides, and then present it back to your clients. So in essence, you're looking at where the issues are, what the opportunity is, where the biggest gaps in recommendations to make those improvements. And you can add all that information very, very quickly based on the 10 numbers that all you need to do that. You can add metrics to it. And this is a tool where you can just run it once, but you can also look at a quarterly comparison. You can look at it at a yearly comparison, a year-end comparison. There's multiple ways of using this tool at different levels as well. So there's so much use you can take. And the biggest thing around this tool is I developed it so it's purely private, because the information that goes in there, it's sensitive. So nobody can view the data or the output from the data in this tool other than the user. And if you do end up deleting the tool, then everything else gets deleted. So it's purely that it was something that I made sure was really, really at the top of the thinking when I developed this tool. So why is it important? It really helps you identify opportunities very quickly. It saves you time. It gives more focused view on areas where the client is struggling and opportunities that you can work with. And you don't have to wait for a very long time, where if you are internal, that you would ask somebody to go out and get all that data and build all that information for you. It's a very quick way of identifying where the key gaps are, and how you can then take this tool and embed all the information from there and start the conversation, and then go into the further deep dive opportunities and further consultative work, if there is, with the client, to see where the gaps are, where the misalignments are, what needs to be fixed, and create the whole project work on the back of that. And again, there's not one key area. You can first look at it holistically, but there's so many opportunities that will come up between that you can really define what projects you can propose and which ones would you want to work first and take on board. So hopefully when I go through the demo, and I give myself enough time so I can literally go in there really deeply and then answer any questions you might have. So we're going to go into the demo, hopefully, and I will explain how that is. But until then, if you have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer those.
Brilliant so far, Muss. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions they want to just quickly put into the chat, they can do. Eric just jumped in saying, you know, as we were talking there, he agrees it's difficult to quantify the cost of bad CX leakage, and it's something which is often overlooked. Yeah, I think let's jump into the demo and let's show people what the RU-CX tool looks like.
Great. Let me know when you can see this.
Yep, we can see that perfectly.
Great. So the best thing about this tool that I purely made this for the love of our CX community and the people out there who wanted to make that difference and make that positive impact for the organizations, is that to sign up, to use it, to play with it, it is entirely free. There is no charge. So when you first get to the landing page, you'll come to this, and it gives you an overview. And the first thing you will notice here is that this tool has been accredited by the Customer Institute. I had to go through a rigorous test, system, and presentation to explain the logic and everything else and the science behind my thought process of building this tool and what it gives to the user. So yeah, it was great to know that that was presented to RU-CX, to be able to have the ROI Engine and certified by Customer Institute. That gives me that that validation and the gravitas to say that what I've done and what I'm doing holds real value for the user. So what you can do, so there's it does explain kind of high level what's to expect in the tool itself. It gives you kind of a glance of the dashboard. So if you were to go in, you can have a look at an example dashboard, what you're more likely to see once you start using it. So it gives you all the different elements, but what I will do is I actually go in directly as a user, as a dummy example for you. So you just go in. So when you sign in, I'll explain what the things you would do. So when you first sign in, it will ask you to give your details. So you put your email address, who you are, what you're doing, and just a bit more about your company, what industry you're from, because we're looking at for it, literally this is a industry agnostic tool, so you can tailor it to any industry you're in, and also design it to your own specific journey needs. But if you say where you're from, it gives you some recommendations further down the line. Also, what currency you want to.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just ask a quick question there? So if you're an independent consultant, you'd be completing those organization details in regard to the customer that you're targeting and working with at that time, rather than your own business?
Yeah, so if you want to build this, if you want to log in as a client, then of course you would put in as a client details. But if you're doing it purely as you as a consultant, then regardless of whatever you choose, you can just choose keep it as other, or keep it as, I mean, I do have commercial B2B here as well. But whatever assessment you create, it will be unique to that particular assessment. So it's not driven, it's not forced you to go down that route. You can log in as you, as a consultant, and have multiple assessments with the unique journeys for different multiple clients. It's how you want to use this tool.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, so once you've done your information in here and you've filled in your details, it will take you directly to the assessment page. Because I already have an assessment, I'll just go into the edit version of the assessment. So the first thing it'll ask you to do is, what kind of report are you doing? Are you doing a 12-month snapshot? Are you doing a financial year end? We're looking at 12 months worth of data. I mean, you can work with 6 months worth of data, but it doesn't extrapolate to 12 months, but it's better to use 12 months if you can get hold of it in there. So, and then or if you can have the quarterly reports, you want to see how you're doing quarter by quarter, you can do it that way, half year. Again, choose what kind of currency you want to show this information in. I can add more. I can make tweaks to the tool. So if you have anything in there by more currencies, I can add that available as well, if you're working in different currencies too. Then once you fill this is the first part, just to give it a title and a header. Then it will ask you to get the total number of active customers for your client and total revenue. And if they don't give it to you because the sensitive data, but you've got an idea of what the total revenue was in the last 12 months and the total active customers, you can put kind of a guesstimate figures in there. And what average number of years a customer stays with the client or with the person, or with your own core organization if you're working in that sense. So what that does is the total active customers and total revenue, it will then generate a revenue per customer calculation here. The lifetime value of the customers, now some organizations are advanced and they already have calculated the lifetime value of their customer. So you can overwrite it here, or what it will do, it'll take the 400, multiply it by the 5 years, average years, to give you the lifetime value of your customers as a starting point. So you can still use it in that sense. Then what it does is ask you if you know how many customers have churned in the last 12 months in that organization. And what that does is it helps to identify the opportunities of that cost of that customer leaving as well. And if the organization has a target of how much they want to reduce their customer churn by. I also add in there employee experience, because if employees are leaving the organization above and beyond the standard baseline target, so this based for this particular industry on average is 12% for banking, but the actual turnover rate is 18%, so that's 6%. We're saying if total employees who left, how much does it cost on average to take on another employee to replace them? And that calculates the cost, which gets added to the calculation. So this is the key area where all the calculations are generated from. Now you can either use a generic funnel, which is inquiry, purchase, onboarding, retention, or if you want to use specific industry one, you can, or even better, if you have your own specific journey, depending on whether it's at segment level or product level, and it's unique to that, you can literally delete all these from here, and you go into add custom stage, and you can just name your own journeys as long as it's flowing from the top to bottom as a funnel, and whatever you call it is unique to you. But what you do put in here is not transactional data, it's not clicks on websites. This is volume of customers. The volume of customers from the inquiry stage, how many started at that point, how many went down to the purchase stage, what were the volume of customers then. If you already, as an organization, have got a target conversion rate, you can plug those in if you already have those metrics. If not, you don't need to. And this is, so the revenue bit and the lifetime value, and this are the key engine of the tool itself. It tells you here then at the bottom, how many have you managed to retain and how many have dropped out. So 40,000 customers in this dummy run have dropped out. It then also asks you to put in any other metrics that you want, which gets added to the dashboard as visuals, but it doesn't actually use these metrics or create the metrics like NPS score, complaint rate, churn risk, so CES score. So you can put in your acquisition costs here, cost to serve, but it doesn't actually use any of these to calculate the revenue, but it does add it to your dashboard for visual purposes, because if you did a year-on-year or 6-month or monthly comparison and you've updated these metrics, you can see how much you've improved. So once you've added all that information and you're ready to go, then you click on update the assessment, and what it'll do is, I'll just click on that, and it will run, it will calculate your figures, and then it will show you straight away the dashboard of where you are actually losing revenue, where your revenue as risk based on that. What are the impact by the journey? What's the impact by the churn, by value? So this is calculated on revenue per customer and the lifetime value. And then based on a standard scenario uplift rate, which here is 15% across all the stages, what is the opportunity growth you have that you can retain back if you made those opportunities and changes? It shows you the potential ROI uplift here. It calculates it for you, including the lifetime, and it shows you where your journey stages that you've put in there and the volume drops, where your highest, or what is those conversion rates, and what is actually refer back to directly in financial terms, in commercial terms, where it's costing you by not doing a great CX or improving those touch points. And then I also have something in here called the maturity snapshot, where as a user, if you can get one of your clients to sit there and answer these 12 questions, which I'll quickly show you, which then directly relate back to opportunities for improvement and growth. And it gives you, the dashboard gives you the key areas where the organization needs to improve to help directly relate back to making those improvements in those journey stages. So what it does, once you get the first dashboard, it asks, before you generate your report, do you want to continue as this uplift scenario, or do you want to update the scenario? So when you review the scenario, it will bring up this dynamic database page where it'll say, right, so looking at what we can see right now, and the opportunities and the journey stages, if I wanted to say, okay, 15% right now may be a bit too opportunity of doing that is may not be as great. So let's just be a bit more realistic and say, I want to improve the key stages by 10%. As you can see on your right hand side, as I change how much improvement I want to target, and it gives you where your revenue return is. So as you can see, it's quite dynamic. It calculates it for you. Again, if I want to reduce my churn, and I think 9% is too low, I'm going to be actually increase that by I'm going to make improvements by 20%. So I want to retain more customers. And also, what does that bring in regards to volume of customers over those waterfall of those customers, retaining those at the end, but also the number of customers I'd gain in extra if I was improving those key stages. Now you got a choice. I can either do an overall 12% flat increase across all key stages, or I can say, actually, I only want to concentrate on inquiry to purchase. So I won't really concentrate on the purchase to onboarding right now. Now, the reason why you can choose that, if you go to the journey funnel, the journey funnel actually tells you, this yellow line shows what your target was if you already have a target. And if it's green, it's because you've gone beyond your target, so you have a really good conversion rate. But if it's written below the line, it's because you've not already reached your existing target. But it tells you here which journey stage is giving you what is the biggest gap, where is the biggest loss financially as well. So we can see here, purchase, the stage from inquiry to purchase has the biggest revenue at risk that maybe you want to concentrate on first. So when you're looking at the scenario, you can either say, okay, so revenue at risk, so I would just concentrate on the one area, or I want to do all. What would that mean? Now, when you run the scenario like so, it will save the scenario here. And what you can actually do, if you've got 2 or 3 different scenarios that you've run, possibly thinking about the different uplift ways of you can make those improvements, you can compare the two and think which is most realistic for you to take forward to your client, and whichever one that you feel seems more achievable as results and targets, it will give you can choose that one particular one. So let's say I didn't want to, I think 15% one is a bit too can get to that point of proving that 15% improvement. So let's go with the 10%, which seems a bit more realistic, and it's still bringing in a good return, a lifetime value and return for the client. So I'll go with the 10% one. So what I can do is I leave that one, and I'll go back to the 10 and 6%. So I will go back to 10 and 6%. And when I run that, what that does is now it will save it and it will push it to your dashboard. So when you go back to your dashboard, you can see the figures have changed now based on the 10% and what you'd get in return. So now that's updated the dashboard. The thing around the maturity snapshot, this because of how your company works holistically with the culture, the communication, how they engage with their employees, their customers, how they use data, how they use behavioral science and emotional intelligence. If we have those key questions of where do you think you are right now, where would you like to be? There's 2 questions, but there's 6 key framework areas that I have. Once you run that and click calculate snapshot, it will give you straight away where your organization or your client is right now in regards to their maturity in when they're delivering their services and their how they run the organization and how they engage with the employees and how they embed that customer-centric approach to their organization. So it gives you those areas of where the key gaps are. The reason why this is important and how this relates back to the improvement side is that these key areas have direct impact on your journey stages. So if your employees are, there's the biggest gap in your employee experience, then it will tell you and where you are. So if you're here, so the biggest improvement here that you need to make are in these key areas, but how does that impact your organization? How does it relate to which journey stages that you need to improve? So support, service delivery, retention, it has a direct impact there. What you can do to help improve that. So it takes those learnings and then adds it to the report to saying, if you want to improve a certain journey stage, you got to look at these other key areas in your organization that need improving because they're directly related to the impact of growth. So if you're happy with everything else and you've done that, then what you do is you go back into there's another tab here called AI Insights, which kind of, depending on what industry you're in, it will give you some overview of that industry results and the metrics that you could also use as an insight into your delivery of your project work or your proposal pitch. So when you go back to your dashboard, what you then do is that you can click on view report, and basically this is a disclaimer to saying that whatever you put into that assessment data and the results that you put in then is what you get back out. So the calculation is very transparent, is very simple. So whatever you choose to use here is on your record. So if you say yes, I agree, what you can do then is it will show you the full WAC report. You can have this in a PDF format. So the first page shows you the impact and where the risk is in regards to value. At the moment, this has a watermark, but when you export the report, it won't have a watermark on there. But it gives, so if you added metrics to it, it will show you the metrics, which key areas and how much is costing the organization, which part of that journey funnel is impacted. And then if you did run the snapshot, what are the key areas there that you need to improve that are directly related to those key journey stages improvement. Gives you some actions, recommendations of what you can do and how much return you can gain on that, your potential ROI. And then the key opportunities that you can fix, depending on whether it's the journey stages or what kind of steps you can take moving forward. Again, the maturity, there's a bit of a report here as a maturity snapshot to show the client where their gaps are in their organizations, where they need to improve in those 6 key pillars to become more improved customer-centric organization and more people-first philosophy. And then if you have the full subscription, you can also get the AI recommendation on the back of the results as well. So this is an AI kind of generated insight report on that. Otherwise, you don't have access to this, but the information in there and your own knowledge and your own experience has that value anyway. It's an additional, very quick insight for you to think about and to use going forward. So once you've done that, so you have the opportunity to export the report either in PDF or PowerPoint. A PowerPoint is very blank, simple, because it's for consultants who want to just take that data and put that information, numbers, into their own deck. So whereas the PDF report is how it looks and how you see it again. So when you export it, it will ask you now if you want the report, that's when you pay for it. So yeah, any questions?
Brilliant. There certainly is, Muss. Yeah, I'll bring a couple of people in. So Damien, I'm going to bring you in as a co-host, and Eric, I'm going to bring you in as a co-host as well. And then once you're co-hosts, you'll be free to unmute and ask away. So Damien, should we start with you, because you were the first to have a question there in the chat?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool. I think it's a really cool tool. I've never seen anything anywhere near as in depth as this. I've got a couple of questions. The first is, I'm wondering if there's any plan to integrate this with CRM solutions, because I think the ability to pull the data out of the CRM, the customer data, and look at what their spend is with you as a vendor or an advisor, and then to map the ROI onto that would be a really useful thing to be able to look at, because you could then determine what the right price point was in terms of sales. So that's the first question. The second question was, how does the customer monitor their ROI compared to what you've given them from the report?
Okay, great questions. Thank you for that, Damien. First one, I created this tool. There's so many tools out there who are proposing to go sit on the enterprise system, connect with other tools, and they charge millions for it.
Yeah.
So what this was is, first of all, to say, look, I'm going to dive deep into the enterprise system right now. It's a standalone tool. It's very private, and it's allowing you to create this report very quickly without having to spend a lot of investment just to get this into your enterprise system. So it's really just calculate those numbers and give you that report out, rather than go in and pull out the figures for you and then bring it in. Maybe
that's fair. I've looked at MuleSoft and the price of it's prohibitive.
Yeah, hopefully there will be an enterprise version. We could consider building it. There's an opportunity there for it. But I guess the more and more people start using this tool and seeing the benefit of it, then there's the worth investing in building that into an enterprise level tool.
Okay, thanks.
And then, sorry, so your second question was...
Yeah, it was about monitoring ROI once you've decided to implement the recommendations.
Yeah, so At the moment, most of the C-suite are asking their insight guys or senior leadership to go out there and prove the value of ROI. So what they're doing is they're getting the operational changes or transformational projects that they did and said, well, at that time when we first started the project, this was the metric for the NPS or the CES score, the CSAT score. And then after we implemented it 6 months, a year down the line, now they has improved by this much. But the problem there is that too many different departments are taking the accolade for making those changes and improvements.
Yeah, of course,
yeah. So that's the common thing that I'm hearing, that this department's taking the value of the change rather than us. Yeah, it's a collaborative thing, which is why I said that it's a single point of truth. When the data comes out, you need to sit across marketing, sales, IT, infrastructure, the C-suite, the strategic guys. They all are a part of these improvements. So when you're saying this NPS improved by 5 points, and that's because we invested this much 12 months ago and made these changes into the customer service or operational, we removed X, Y, Z. It's more of a correlation and causality. There's no direct link to it. Whereas here, so rather than proving that CX from the bottom up operationally has made any revenue or improvements to the organization, I'm saying, actually, let's flip the script. I'm saying if you're not doing great CX and you had an opportunity to do these different key sales funnel or stages, and you're converting lower than you should be because you've got friction, you've got blockage, you've got silo mentality in your organization, and that's stopping that, and that's impacting your customers. So they're walking away from you. What is it costing you as an organization? So that's when we're turning it and saying, well, bad CX is costing you money. Stop trying to prove it that CX makes you money. Let's say bad CX is costing you money. Where do you need to improve? And that's what I've done. And that's why I think it's important to get that in the boardroom.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks.
Yeah.
And Eric, you had a question as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it was more about how you are going to be monetizing it, but I think you wanted it, through, being able to deliver, a port. Sorry, I think my mic isn't, set up properly. I just want to say it's a great tool. It's very interesting. It's a good approach. It's something that basically, is very useful to sit down with the customer and be able, to guide some conversation about running some what if scenarios. Okay, so it's cool. I like it. It's very nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. And just to point out very quickly, like I said, you can use this in two ways. Use it as yourself, or to identify how you can help your client by where those gaps are very quickly, or you can literally sit with your client, show them the tool, plug in the numbers, sitting with them and showing them real time what's happening. And then when they're seeing those changes, or they're sitting with you and saying, actually, I believe we can make these improvements by 10%, 15%, whatever, they are collaborating, they are working with you on this. So you can do it as a joint tool, a joint conversation with your client. And then you can get them to build. And then when the results come out in the final, you don't even need to show them the report. You just show them the dashboard. That's all. The dashboard will sell your work because it'll show where the gap is, where the financial impact is, where the opportunity is. And that's where you want to be as a consultant. And the great thing about this is if you're saving a client £1 million, or even, £100,000, this report, the first one you run, is only £500. So the comparison is nothing. The amount of return you're bringing back and what you're going to get out of this tool is nothing. If you go for the full year subscription, it's £2,500 for the year. In that, you can have 8 reports, and you can have multiple client uses of that. So the amount of return on investment for you as a consultant using this tool is great, because of the information it'll give you, the time it'll save you, the impact it will have on your client, and the dashboard that you can use to take in there and show your clients. It pays for itself.
Okay, I get it. It's quite nice. just been working on something a little bit different, with a friend. It's more on the impact of technology, but very similar areas, and I definitely believe it.
Yeah, by all means, just sign up, play with it. If you have any desire for me to go through it with you one-on-one, I'll be happy to spend time with you and show you exactly how to make the most of that tool. But yeah, it won't cost you anything just to play with it, as long as you don't export the report.
Thanks a lot.
Brilliant. Thank you, Muss. Yeah, so a couple of things then. So yeah, if anyone listening to this live or watching it after the fact, if you've watched the demo and you think, wow, that's a tool I want to have a play around with, I can see the value in that, you can obviously contact Muss directly through the association, the Global Association of AI and CX Consultants. You can find him there by searching for his name. Or Muss, what's the best email address for people to get you on?
Easy. It's Muss at RU-CX.com.
Muss at RU-CX.com. You can get him via that. And a big thank you again to the Customer Institute, who've obviously accredited this tool. As Muss said, he went through hoops and hoops and hoops to get that accreditation. And thank you to them for supporting this partnership between Muss and RU-CX and ourselves, putting this webinar together. And of course, a big thank you to Muss for your time as well, and for all of the audience that's joined us this afternoon and after the fact as well. So yeah, thank you very much, Muss, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Muss.
Adam.
Brilliant.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.